Hi, welcome back to Mike's Diabetes World. Currently at 99, which is sort of the highest I was today. Sort of freshly calibrated. Last time I had a correction was at 610, I guess. And it was 1.92 units. That's one way we take care of, pump takes care of me. Okay, today I did have a problem with my pump. Just it kind of blocked out, and I said, no, I'm going to let it sit for a while. Then I came back and did a calibration, and since then I've been working pretty good. I have this one. I have my other phone that the nurses will be carrying that has the readings on it. I also get it from the pump. Today, I want to maybe give you insight into what sort of questions you should be asking. It could help you get the information that you're actually looking for. Doesn't mean you can't ask your questions. In fact, I kind of more suggest that than what we're going to discuss now. So, what questions to ask when you're in with your doctor, your dietitian, your diabetic nurse? It's all great. It's all easy questions that you can get the answer to. Be right back. This channel is provided for informational purposes only. Contact your physician for any diagnostic or treatment plan. Questions that you want to ask. First of all, if this is a new doctor that you have not dealt with before, I always ask, where did you study or what sort of qualifications do you have? You have a right to know, but you don't need to be so self-centered about it. I have a right to know. Most doctors will tell you, I studied here, and my endocrinologist, I know where he went to school. And I've mentioned his names a number of times on here, so I'm not going to say what he has told me. Okay, so one is doctor and doctor qualifications. 2, what kind of diabetic am I? It could be obvious. If you haven't been told by now, it should be obvious if you're a type 1 or type 2. A lot of times, type 2s will be told, well, let's see if putting you on a diet and you lose the weight, things work out. Type 1 diabetics are almost always put on insulin right away. The only way to lower blood sugar in a type 1 diabetic is through injections. It could be injections, it could be through the pump, a pen, a syringe. But what type? Because you may have been sent to a hospital, or you may feel like crap and showed up in the hospital, and you've been told, oh, you have diabetes. Here, go see this doctor. Okay? Depending on how high your blood sugar is. A lot of times, that seems like such a simplistic question, but it's not always. What type of insulin am I on? We're back to just being type 1 talk. What type of insulin should I be on? How much? What sort of time I should be taking my insulin? You have to try to keep a routine. Sometimes it doesn't work out that way, but keeping a routine allows the doctor to see how much insulin you're giving and how it's actually working. Next, you want to know, what other medications do I need? You need to come up with a plan. What happens if I go high? What happens if I start going low? The doctor may give you kind of a sliding scale that if you go really high, even if you're on the pump, it may just tweak it a bit and to help you bring your sugars down. What happens if I can't control my high blood sugars though? What are we to do? What happens if I get ketones again? I've heard ketones are really bad. What do we do to control our ketones? I've heard ketone meter. Do I need to get a ketone meter? And if I show ketones, what's the best way to get rid of them? Water can help cleanse them, but your body will still try to make them. So ask what happens. And I'm not giving answers here. These are questions you should be talking to your doctor about. What sort of pain relief should I have? What happens when I get sick? What sort of items on a liquid diet? You should be taking notes and writing this down so that you can set up a plan. This is what the doctor said. So if I get sick, I can pull this out and say, this is what I have to do. I know some of these sound very simplistic, but it's not meant to be that way. It's going over to make sure you understand as much as you can. If you feel I've forgotten something while we're doing this, comment, and when I do a backup video to this, I'll add it. Now, it's easy to say that, oh, what type of insulin am I on? If you are going to go to the pump It's going to be different than what you do with a syringe. And that is different because if you're injecting insulin, chances are you will have a basal insulin, which allow your body to keep working without breaking down and turning fat into energy, which gives a byproduct of a ketone. Too many ketones make you go into DKA. So this is all stuff you need to know. How do I stop DKA from happening? That's another question. What's a healthy rate? What is a healthy weight? Should I be concerned about a healthy weight or not? Just a little side note. If you're getting too much insulin and you're really, just on the border of being called low, you may want to cut back your insulin and some. Check with your doctor. He or she will be able to tell you when or when not and what range you should be at. Now, if you're on the pump, I don't know, you can't see it on here. The bottom of the green, the dark green and the light green columns, and the top is pretty much what they consider a normal range. It's 3.9 to 10. Okay? So that's 3.9. I'm just going to get my little calculator here. Okay. 3.9 times 18 equals 70.2. Okay, for those Americans who watch. And then 10 units times 18. I'm just going to do this just to show you. I know what the answer is going to be. It's going to be 180. Those are the normal ranges. If you start going over that all the time, or you keep having a number of steps below that, the 3.9 to 10 or 70.2 to 180 in the American system is considered to be a normal blood sugar. How about asking your doctor, is there anything else I need to learn? That's sort of an open-ended question that allows your doctor and you to go over and say, okay, do we do everything? You can, during your talking with your doctor, you could say, I've heard eyes have been a problem with people with diabetic, heart and feet. What can I do to protect those? Now, hopefully, somewhere in your diabetes travels early on, your doctor would send you to a diabetes education center. And you can take some of these questions with it. Chances are when you go there, you're going to meet a diabetic nurse. And he or she will take a look and say, okay, well, you're having a little bit of lows here. Let's modify the insulin here a bit. Still happens to me. Still happens to another person I know here who has type 1. So don't feel, oh, my diabetes is getting worse. For whatever reason, there could be external forces. Okay. But then chances are you will see a dietitian, and she will talk about food labels and sizes and types of foods that you should be working towards. Interesting, isn't it? Now, in some times, it doesn't always happen, but if I went to diabetes daycare, I would see the nurse, the dietitian, or vice versa. It didn't really matter. But somewhere in there, I would also see a doctor. Now, that doesn't mean that happens all the time. So, if your doctor's there, great. A lot of times they'll know when the doctor will be in, and they'll try to schedule people at that time. Usually also at these diabetes education centers, there is information galore. They're on bulletin boards, they're on tables, and that's usually there for you to take. I was able to get, this is a few years ago, so don't go looking for this right now, but there was a bar that if you had problems with your blood sugar dipping, you could eat this bar and it would help maintain your blood sugars. I don't believe that is still available. Could be wrong, but I don't think so. You want to ensure that you get all your questions answered. And I have mentioned this game I play. It's not really a game, it is. It's called Stump the Nurse, Stump the Dietitian, and Stump the Doctor. Is do some research on any part. I a lot of times come with obscure question, and I will ask them and see what they come back with. A lot of times they do pretty damn good. Occasionally you'll get one or two that's kind of out there in left field. But sometimes they just say, I don't know, I'll have to look into that. Even when I was in the hospital, I knew I was going to have attending in one day, and we'll call them resident, I don't know if they were resident or an intern or what, would come see me. And I would have questions to kind of stump them. Because remember, if you're in the hospital, a lot of these residents, interns, and even some other doctors have not had really tight experience with diabetes. And if you're there over a weekend, chances are you're going to get doctors who are pretty well there just to make sure you're safe. But they're not going to really change anything till the next workday. It's even worse if you're stuck in there over a holiday. When I first got diagnosed, it was coming up to Thanksgiving Day weekend. I ended up having to report to the hospital the Friday of Thanksgiving weekend. That weekend for doctors, regular doctors, it was a ghost town. I had one or two people just before I do my review, one other question. Chances are either your diabetes education center or your doctor, doesn't matter which one does it because they'll get the same results, will give you a lab rec that you have to do every 3 months. Every 6 months, I had to do a urine test as well. Ask what these tests are and what you want to look at. Unless you've had diabetes for a while, I wouldn't suggest right away you go looking at all the reasons for these tests. Oh my God, they're thinking this. Oh, right now, ask your doctor. That's going to be, or your diabetic nurse, that's going to be your best source of education. At this point, you're developing your medical team. Chances are you will be going and seeing an ophthalmologist. And when you do, ask the same questions. And we'll use this as our review. 1, what school do you attend to? What qualifications do you have for this position? And don't say it negatively. 2, what kind of medication 2 was what kind of diabetes do I have? 3, what type of medication? You could also ask, why do I have to see an ophthalmologist? Something in there you could ask is, what is the difference between an ophthalmologist and an optometrist? If you're a diabetic, if you don't wear glasses, chances are you're not going to go see an optometrist except for just the normal yearly exam. An ophthalmologist they used to call it just an eye surgeon, but it's like for us, it's a retina specialist. And I go every 6 months. July, I go again, and I get tested. They check, they take pictures of my eyes, and I was pretty stable. Let's go over some of these questions. You want to take a look at lab tests, ask what the lab tests are for, ask medication. If you're put on other pills, like they start giving you high blood pressure pills or pills that will help your heart, doesn't mean you've done damage. There's, what is it called? It keeps coming, Altase. I was going to say erythromycin, and I know that's... The medication protects. I don't know what that was. Protects your heart. Protects your kidneys from the high blood pressure. All of these, ask why you're being prescribed that. If they don't offer it, a lot of times they will just go over and say, this is what we want. A lot of the questions I gave you is a nice, simple introduction, and you may hear the same stuff over and over again. That's okay. That's how you learn. Recall. Hope you're having a great day, and we'll talk to you later. Bye now. My email is mikesdiabetesworld@gmail.com. mikesdiabetesworld@gmail.com.